God save the King.
And that will be a moment looked back on for decades, if not centuries to come, you could say. King Charles being crowned, marking a new age of the royal family and indeed our Commonwealth.
So how will this coronation be remembered? Our friend, former Palace Press Secretary Dickie Arbiter joins us now live once again. Good morning to you, Dickie, and it is now morning where you are too. Charles has a huge job ahead of him now. Will the grace period end now that the coronation is done and dusted, do you think?
Well, I don't think there is really a grace period. He's sort of slotted into the job when his mother died. You've got to remember that he's been working towards this job for the past 46 years since he left the Navy in 1976. He's been working for the people, with the people, on all sorts of issues, the Prince's Trust, environment, medicine, the agriculture, the environment, the built environment, you name it, he's worked in it. He's championed the whole issue of environment and climate change since the 1980s, and he was sort of looked at as a bit loopy talking about it because nobody understood the environment, and yet here we are in 2023 and people are taking it very seriously. So he's done his job on that front. People know where he stands. William has taken up the issue and he will continue with it until, I suppose, until he becomes king.
And so
grace period.
Sorry, Dickie.
I think what he's done, he's just segued from being Prince of Wales to King Charles III. I'm putting it very simply, but I think that's it.
Yeah, it's been quite seamless. So with King Charles comes Queen Camilla. Of course, the consort has been dropped now. How accepting are people, by and large, of that new title, Queen Camilla?
I believe people have accepted her. We saw that rush down the Mall. The people are very good at controlling how the people move down the Mall to prevent them from injuring themselves or getting caught in the crush. And there was a sort of gigantic cheer as King Charles and Queen Camilla appeared on the balcony. They disappeared inside, the doors were closed, and there's always an encore, and the doors opened again, they came out again. People have accepted her. When she goes up and down the country on her various engagements, working towards the charities that she's patron of, people turn out to see her. She's one of these people that looks at you to talk to you, doesn't look over your shoulder to see who might be more important or more interesting. She gives you the quality time. She's taken up issues that are very much part of the community, battered wives, domestic violence, literacy. She's opened up a reading room, which is proving to be very popular. She is and has become a very popular person, and she's part of the strength behind King Charles III.
Now, we're told that this coronation was scaled back in compared to Queen Elizabeth II's coronation in 1953. We also saw two future kings play a part in this role. Do you think their coronations will look like this, or do you think there is going to be a bit of a shift now towards, modernising the monarchy in that way?
You know, Jane, people say modernise the monarchy. I'm not terribly sure what is meant because nobody's actually come up with a plan. Modernise what? The monarchy has evolved for the past 1,000 years. It has changed. It's changed seamlessly. I remember on one occasion having dinner with the late Queen, and we were talking about a report that appeared in the paper that the monarchy should modernise. And she said quite clearly, I don't change, I adapt to meet the needs. And by adapting, people don't actually notice that the monarchy has changed. Yes, things will be done slightly differently in the future. Come William's coronation, the service might change. There are certain aspects of it that cannot change. The anointing, the crowning. I mean, today we saw a gospel choir. There was no gospel choir in 1953. I remember that coronation well, watching it on a 14-inch television set. So things will change. They will change marginally. And you said very clearly a few moments ago about two future kings looking on, and that was a moment for me that was quite interesting, because William stood back after he had adjusted his father's super cloak, and we had George in the background. So two future kings looking on at what is happening and probably thinking, that's going to be me one day.
Dickie, as well as that, do you have another key takeaway from the coronation? It's been a big few days.
It has been. The anointing was very special. The crowning was special, confirming in the eyes of God that Charles III is now king and swearing to uphold the laws of the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth. I think for me a touching moment was when William kissed his father. Reminds me, I wasn't there at the time, but it reminds me of Edward VII at his coronation, that his son, the Prince of Wales, who later became George V, kissed his father on the cheek, and his father was so smitten by it, he stood up and kissed his son back again. Never happened at the coronation and has never happened since. But I think a very moving moment for me. I always get a lump in my throat when Elgar's Pomp and Circumstance No. 4 is played, and that was so fitting as the King and Queen processed out of Westminster Abbey. It was a very moving moment. The whole service was a moving moment, and culminating not just in the 3 cheers in the garden from all the assembled military, 7,000 of them, 29,000 in 1953, but the balcony appearance and the welcome and the greeting and the acceptance by the people of the United Kingdom and the world, because a lot of people flew in from all over the world just for this occasion.
We have to leave it there, I'm afraid, but thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for everything that you have done for us on Channel 9, from the funeral of the Queen to the coronation today. Your insight is unparalleled, and we're very grateful to have you. For 70 years, Queen Elizabeth ruled with dignity and grace. Now, as Charles is crowned king, a new era begins.
So what does the future look like for the royal family? We're joined now by royal commentator and author of The New Royals, Katie Nicholl in London. Thank you for joining us, Katie. Well, over the course of her life, Queen Elizabeth II became synonymous with the crown. Now it belongs to Charles. How will the monarchy look under his reign, do you think?
Well, I think if the actual coronation was anything to go by, and those crowds who stood in the pouring rain, and it really was torrential, I think if that's anything to go by, I think the king can feel quite positive about the future. In fact, I spoke to a source close to him just before the coronation who said he does feel optimistic about the future. He does feel very positive. And I think, you know, he will have been totally roused and supported by the crowds that turned out to see him, by the crowds that he's going to see again today at the concert. This isn't just a one-day event. This is 3 days of celebrations in his honour. And of course, Queen Camilla. I think, you know, for all of us, certainly myself watching, and, you know, I've done this for 20 years. At the start of my career, the idea that we would see Camilla anointed Queen Camilla, it was almost unthinkable. In fact, it was unthinkable.
We do hear a lot these days about how the royals want to modernise the monarchy, but King Charles is the oldest monarch to take the throne. What are some of the biggest challenges he'll face?
Well, there are many challenges. I think if you only need to look in the United Kingdom before you start going further afield to the Commonwealth. You know, I'm told and reported in the book, The New Royals, that what keeps him awake at night is worrying about keeping the U in the United Kingdom, keeping us together. And then, of course, further afield, there are issues with the Commonwealth. No one's going to make any secret of the fact that Jamaica's likely to become a republic, and other, particularly Caribbean countries, will follow, possibly even Australia and New Zealand as well. There's a question mark over Canada. I think the end of Queen Elizabeth's reign certainly signalled a seismic shift, not just here in the United Kingdom, but further afield as well. And of course, it's now down to Charles to prove that the monarchy can be modern, but also that it can stay relevant in this sort of ever-moving, ever-shifting world, that it can make a connection. And it's crucial that it makes that connection with young people, because that's the demographic that simply don't get the concept of a constitutional hereditary monarchy, and who need to be convinced that it's worth the £1.29 that it costs us each year as a taxpayer, and that it has, you know, legitimate currency in today's world.
Katie, you mentioned Camilla and about how the public has already warmed to her. Do you think we've fully embraced her as a Commonwealth, as Queen?
I hope so. I mean, I've been lucky enough to sort of work alongside the Queen Consort in my capacity as a royal correspondent, and I've always found her such a pleasure to work with. I report on a lot of the charities that she works with, and they are all so proud of what she's done. When you look at the organisations and the charities that she's taken on, from domestic violence to empowering women, you know, she's really tackled some quite gritty issues, and she hasn't been afraid to shy away from some of those sort of less, shall I say, conventional charities. So I think she's totally earned that place. I think she's earned that title. For so many years, she just quietly supported the king. She was very much in the shadows. It's only in recent years that we've seen her sort of come more centre stage. And I was told by one of her friends that this is not a title that she sought. Being Queen Camilla didn't matter to her. It wasn't what she set out for. It was, however, absolutely crucial to King Charles, or Prince of Wales as he then was, that when he did become king, she also became Queen Camilla.
Well, she certainly is Queen Camilla now after that coronation, which was such a spectacle. What was your favourite moment, Katie?
Oh, it's hard to pick a favourite moment, isn't it? I mean, I think the anointing, even though it was behind a screen, was possibly for me the most powerful moment. And I loved that it was behind the screen. I loved that in this sort of digital age where everyone's got a camera phone and everything is recorded, you know, captured, there was this moment of absolute secrecy and this sacred element around him being anointed. I loved that. And, you know, to see the St Edward's crown held aloft, I mean, unless you go to the Tower of London, you don't get to see these crowns, this regalia, and to see it all on display was, well, I found that really moving, really breathtaking. And of course, to see the Wales children take such a prominent role in the coronation was lovely. I thought, hats off to little Prince Louis, who managed to stay there for most of that service. I have a little boy who's about the same age, and I don't know how the Princess of Wales remained so calm during all of that. She was just amazing, and so was Louis. And for Prince George as well, to have such an important role for his grandfather. And it really made me think of Charles when he was growing up. He had the Queen Mother, who was such an important figure in his life. He adored the Queen Mother. She taught him so much, and she was there when the Queen often wasn't for Charles. And I think what's so lovely is we're almost seeing that relationship echoed in his lovely relationship with Prince George. And I think another powerful moment was seeing the Prince of Wales kneel before the King and pledge his allegiance to his father. I found that very moving. There were many wonderful moments, you know, and the rain didn't dampen our spirits. It was pretty bad out there, but you know, it was going to take more than a few showers to put people off and make them turn home and leave the celebrations. I think those people who'd camped out had, you know, they wanted to be there. They wanted to witness this moment in history, because that's what it was.
And there's more celebrating to do. Katie Nicholl in London, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey there, Today fans. Sarah and...
What's my name again?
Oh my goodness, Carl.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel, though. Subscribe now for more news, special reports, and amazing Aussie stories.
And Carl misbehaving,
Whoa,
of course.
that never happens.
Always happens.
What's she talking about?